Is it just me or is the lighting of this super weird? I don't know. Wish I could see, but I can't. Anyway, we are back with another TBR takedown. I started the year off with 123 books on my physical TBR, and I didn't realize my physical TBR is now at the point where I have an entire bookshelf full of books. Didn't realize that until I moved and I organized all my books, because now I have an entire bookshelf just for my physical TBR. But that's what this video is all about. We're gonna get through my physical TBR and we're gonna do it using a little bingo card. This is what it's looking like so far. Not super close to bingo anywhere, although this could be a bingo, as could this. So we'll see. Let's just hop right into it. G60. Okay, I don't have G60. N39. I do have that, and that is a YA book. Okay, let me pull out a couple of options. Pulled out 3 YA books that would work for this prompt, and I think I already know which one I want to read, but I'll show you my options anyway. So I have One of Us is Lying, which is actually a reread technically, but I've read it so long ago that I don't super remember everything that happens. Although I will say I remember the twist at the end, but I've been wanting to read this book because I want to read the next book as well, which is One of Us is Next. And when I read this book, that book hadn't come out yet, because like I said, I read this book so long ago and I don't remember all the details of it, but I don't think I'm in the mood for that right now. I also really want to read this. This is The Vigilante Poets of Sylvan Academy, and basically our main character, I think he's in high school, and his high school gets taken over because they're filming this reality TV show, which sounds so interesting to me, and also probably a reality TV show that I would actually watch in real life. And then we have the book I think I want to read. This is Crest by Marissa Meyer, yet another reread, but like I said, I've read this so long ago, and the whole reason that this is sitting on my physical TBR is because this is the rest of the series and I haven't read any of them. Actually, I've read like half of Winter and that's it. So once I reread this book, that means I can read the rest of the series and like kind of be surprised. But like I mentioned, this is a series, so this is the 3rd book. The first book is Cinder, and this is a fantasy YA series. So our main character is a cyborg and her kingdom is failing because there's this deadly plague going on. There's also a little bit of romance. It is a really good YA fantasy series if that is what you're looking for. So I think I'm gonna start with this book. I've been reading books a little bit slower than I used to, but yesterday I got to page 138. Well, actually, technically I got to that page this morning because I did a little bit of reading this morning. I went to the gym and I listened to the audiobook while walking, which was a lot of fun. Recently, when I go to the gym and I want to read, I will literally read on my phone while walking on the treadmill. I'll just like set my phone up. But today I was like, let me listen to the audiobook because it was available on Libby and I've been listening to it pretty on and off, like just switching between the audio and the physical copy of the book. But actually, when I was reading just now, I found a little boarding pass in it and it's dated 2019, and I found it on the exact page that I just stopped at, which it's funny because I was like, why do I remember all of this book? Like, I read it so long ago. I think what happened is that I've read the beginning of the book twice. I think when I was in middle school, I like started reading the book, never finished it, and then I tried again in 2019, also never finished it, and now here I am trying again. If I don't finish it, I would be shocked. I'm most likely going to finish it. This whole time though, I was like, why do I remember so much of this book? Because I didn't remember that much of the rest of the series, but this book in particular, I remember so much of what happens, and I still feel like I remember a little bit about what's going to happen, but I don't remember how the book is going to end. I don't know why I remember so much of this book. Maybe it's like low-key my favorite, I don't know. I'm sure we're gonna find out, but so far obviously really liking it. I will say when I started this book yesterday, I was just so excited to get back into this world, this universe, this series. I honestly feel like I'm reading this whole lunar series really slow, and I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, I don't know. Either way, I'm really enjoying the book, so I feel like that's all that matters. Do I think it's a 5-star as of right now? No, but at the same time, I feel like this is probably a 5-star series for me, and I can't tell if that's for nostalgic purposes or if I actually just really like these books. I do think I really like them, but I think part of it is nostalgic purposes. I'm excited to read the next 3 books because I've never finished those ones. This is my last reread for the series. Good morning, same spot, different day. You can tell I haven't gotten ready yet for the day. obviously. I've been too busy reading and drinking coffee, but I'm now on part 3 of this book, which I think is just over halfway through. And I'm finally at the part where I don't remember what's going on. I don't remember what's going to happen. And honestly, that feels so good. Like, it just feels so exciting. Not that I haven't had a good reading experience so far, but I kind of miss like not knowing what's gonna happen, you know? And so now I'm at that point and I'm like, I have no idea, especially because something pretty big just happened. Also, did I explain earlier that all of these books follow different like fairy tale retellings? So this one is Rapunzel, the one before this was Little Red Riding Hood, and the one before that one was Cinderella. And I love a good fairy tale retelling, although I will say these are just like very loose premises. Like the whole Rapunzel plot retelling kind of situation is already over. So I would say it only really follows like that retelling vibe in the beginning of the book, and then it kind of just takes its own little turn and its own story. But you already know I'm still enjoying this book. I basically just came on here to say that we're finally getting to parts where I don't remember what happens, and for some reason that is just so exciting to me. So even though this is a reread, I'm now at the part where I have no idea what's going to happen next. I truly don't have anything to say other than I am this close to being done with this book right now, and I'm so excited. So let's go finish it. I honestly don't even know if you can see me right now because I'm having one of those days where I'm getting overstimulated by my glasses. So I just like had to take them off, but I didn't put my contacts in or anything, so I can't see you at all. AKA I can't see myself. Anyway, a couple thoughts on this book because I did finish it a couple of hours ago. When I was reading this book, there were so many times where all I could think about was how I would hate to have to live through a plague like this. Like the disease that happens in these books, as soon as you start to show symptoms, like that's it. Like you're gone in 24, 48 hours and it's super contagious. So that thought alone is unbelievably petrifying to me. But another thing I wanted to mention is that for some reason towards the end of the book, I just kept feeling like, okay, yeah, this book is very YA. And I feel like there's some books that are very YA and there's some books that are YA, but they're also can be read like by a grown adult and it doesn't really matter a ton. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. I just mean that I don't know if I would say that this series is for anyone like 30 and above, and that's okay because that's not the target audience. You know what I mean? But for some reason when I was reading this book today, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I would recommend this book for older adults, but if you like to read YA, I 100% recommend this book. I don't know what 23-year-old me would rate it. I think maybe a 4-star, but best believe middle school me rated this 5. The fact that me in middle school read this book and then I tried to reread it again, but I still remember so much of reading this book from middle school that I like pretty much knew what was going on. Like as I was reading the book, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this, and then I know that this is gonna happen next because I remember that too. Like that just kept happening to me, and it's crazy to me that I remember so much of this book when that was like what, like 10 years ago? I don't even know. Probably, yeah. So I obviously 100% recommend this series, and it is now time to pick the next book. I had to move you so you can actually see my little bingo, but let's do this thing. This is I-18. I do not have I-18. G57. Okay, I do have G57. That is a book with a blue cover. I feel like we probably have a good amount of options for this one. Like just glancing at my bookshelf, I'm seeing a lot of blue, so I have high hopes we can choose a fun book for this one. Okay, I pulled out a big stack of blue books, and honestly I could have kept going, but I was like, let me stop while I'm ahead because this is plenty of options. So I have the Vigilante Poets of Sylvan Academy. Pretty sure I also pulled this book for YA. For some reason this book is really speaking to me, but I'm trying to decide if I want to do 2 YA books back to back or not. I have Ask Again Yes, The Deadly Hours, Reasons to Stay Alive, which is actually a non-fiction book. I have The Soul of an Octopus. This is also a non-fiction, and it says it's a surprising exploration into the wonder of consciousness. This one, very controversial. I obviously haven't read it, but it's Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. She's just a very controversial author in general, I feel like. So I'm not sure if I want to pick this up, you know? And then I have Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I might have to veto this one. I don't think I'm in the mood because in my head I'm thinking of my plans for tomorrow, and I really want to go to the pool. And I just want to sit outside and read for a good amount of the day because it's gonna be nice out. And I miss the sun when I'm working during the week, you know? So I'm trying to decide what would be a good book for the pool / just sitting outside. Because I don't know for sure if I'm gonna go to the pool. Okay, I'm trying to decide between these two, but I feel like I know which one I want to read. And I feel like you guys know which one I want to read. So obviously the next morning, and I actually decided to start Reasons to Stay Alive last night, which I feel like we're all probably gonna be a little bit surprised by, because I was really thinking I would read the Sylvan Academy book, but I read the back of this book and I was like, you know what? This book is actually really calling to me right now. So I read the first chapter literally just sitting on the floor right in front of my bookcase. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna read this one. And so far I am really enjoying it. I will say when I was reading it last night, I was like, yeah, I think that this has really high potential to be a 5-star read. But then while I'm reading it this morning, I'm kind of like, I don't know if this would be a 5-star. I'm more on the fence about it this morning, but I will say I've only read like 10 pages this morning. I'm on page 50, which doesn't seem like I'm super far into it, but this book is super short. It's only 256 pages and it's categorized as self-help / memoir, which I might have said that yesterday, but when I went to put this book into my Goodreads like currently reading, I realized I've read another book by this author. It was, I think he wrote The Midnight Library, and I read that earlier this year. I don't think I loved that book, but I can't remember off the top of my head, to be so honest. I think I most likely rated that book a 3-star, which isn't bad, but it just means I obviously wasn't obsessed with it. But honestly, so far so good with this book. I think I'm gonna go make a little drink. I want to have something fun to drink. I don't know if that'll be a coffee or tea, something like that. It's about to rain here, of course, even though I was just saying how much I miss the sun, but we're gonna go sit and read for at least a couple of hours before I get the day going. I figured I would read this book pretty fast just because of the way that it's structured and just how it reads is pretty fast, and it's also, like I said, a short book. But it's not even 1 o'clock and I'm already at page 165, and I feel like I just started this book. Even though technically I did start it yesterday, I feel like it's easily a book that I could have just finished in one sitting in one day. Maybe not in one sitting because I have been taking breaks even this morning, but I could definitely finish it in one day. But I did actually want to talk about the structure of this book because it's a little bit interesting the way that he has set this book up. All the chapters are really short. So like in the beginning, you get a chapter on his life, and then like there's a little quote, and then another chapter about his life, and then a chapter explaining like why depression is hard to understand, and then again on his life. And then he has a couple chapters throughout the book where he has a conversation with like his past self, and then you get like chapters on things people have said to him about depression, and then you get a chapter on like things people have said to people with depression that they won't say to people with other life-threatening situations. So he kind of sprinkles not only chapters about his life and his experience with depression, but he also sprinkles in misconceptions about depression and how it can affect people differently and like the stigma behind depression. And he's also trying to put words to these feelings, which 100% cannot recommend enough reading this book when you are in like a healthy mindset. And that's kind of part of why I chose this book, because there has been mental health struggles that I've had in the past, and I was like, okay, I feel like now is an okay time for me to read this book because I feel like I can connect to it, but I'm in a healthy space. So with that being said, I don't think that this book is for everyone, but at the same time, I do feel like if you have dealt with this in the past, or if you've had someone in your life that has dealt with things like this, it will 100% be a hard-hitting book for you. And there's also a chapter in this where he says like how to take care of like people going through things like this. There's a chapter about reasons to be strong. There's a whole chapter about books that he read while he was at his worst that actually helped him. Like, even though they're not actually like books about how to heal from these things, they were just books, just general books, if that makes sense, and they helped him recover. So I'm really enjoying this book. I don't know if I'll finish it today because we're getting to the stretch of the day where I really have got to start doing some other things. I've got some plans this afternoon, but it would be great if I could finish this book today because I am really enjoying it. I'm honestly unsure if I like the structure or not. I think the structure really helps in making it an easy book to read, but it's just kind of interesting to have a structure like this in a book that is so heavy. I kind of feel like maybe he made the structure like this on purpose because it helps make the book a little bit more digestible, versus if the book was a more structured, like this is my life memoir kind of book, I think it would have been a lot harder to read, a lot harder to get through. So I like that he structured the book like this, and this is a different structure for memoir than I have ever read before, which is probably why it's actually under self-help and memoir. I can see that definitely being under both because he definitely mixes the two genres together. But honestly, you probably won't see me until after I finish finish this book. We're back in front of the bookcase because I just finished Reasons to Stay Alive. I actually really ended up liking this book. I think I'm gonna give it a 4 stars. There's a couple reasons I don't feel like it's a 5-star, although I obviously highly recommend it because a 4-star is still a really good rating. But there's a couple things that I just didn't love. I wish he talked about therapy a little bit more. I don't 100% agree with everything that he said, which is fine. Obviously, a lot of it was about his life, and that I have no opinion on, obviously, because it was his life. But I did really appreciate the message of underlying hope that was in this book, and I 100% recommend reading this book. A lot of it was just his life and how he ended up dealing with these things, and there's just a lot of positives in this book, I feel like, which is just shocking because obviously these topics that he wrote about are pretty heavy. So I did very much enjoy this book, obviously, because I read it in one day. But we're not gonna pick out our next book. So you already know I need my little bingo, and I need to move you back so you can actually see. Okay, here goes nothing. N45. I have this. This is continue reading a series. Okay, this is really exciting. Okay, I've yet again pulled out a couple of options. Although I will say I was very tempted to pick up Ferris, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to read multiple of the same series in one video. Here are my options. I have Love and Luck, which I think is the second book in a series. I think there's 3 books in the series, but this is the only one I have that I haven't read. And then I have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I loved the first book in the series, so I'm excited to read that one. And then I have The Scorch Trials, which I actually read the very beginning of this book ages ago, like probably when I was in middle school, and then never picked it up again. And then I have Magnolia Park's Into the Dark, which I don't think I'm ready to read this one because it's the last book that's out in the Magnolia Park series, and I'm not ready to say goodbye to them yet, so I think I'm gonna hold on this one, which really just leaves me with 3 options. And I think I'm stuck between these 2. I think I might want to read Yours Truly though. Kind of think I'm in the romance mood. I'm already on page 104 in Yours Truly, so I feel like I can now confidently tell you all what this book is about. I can't remember if I mentioned anything earlier, but this series is interconnected, so you don't technically have to read any of the books in order in the series. But this is the second book, and in this book we have our 2 main characters, and they are both doctors. And the main male character's name is Jacob, and he is the new kid on the block, and basically at first no one really likes him. And then we have our main girl character, who her name is Brianna. She's also a doctor, and she has a lot going on in her personal life, and right now their relationship is very much just friends, but I definitely can see the potential of them becoming more than friends. But I will say at the same time, I don't love Jacob. I do really like the anxiety representation in this book, but right now he just feels very 2D, and I don't know why. I thought it'd be fun to see how much I can read on my lunch break. I have about 45 minutes left since I've been eating already. I'm on page 154 right now, so let's see how much I can read during lunch. Okay, I made it to page 152, and I have about 25 minutes left of my lunch break. 15 minutes left of my lunch break, and I just made it to page 162. I'm honestly unsure if I'm really enjoying this book right now, just because I kind of think the trope that's in it is a little bit overdone, in the sense that I have read a lot of books with this trope in it, and I'm kind of tired of this trope, which I don't want to hold that against the book, because it's like not the book's fault. It's just like I feel like I've seen it so many times to the point where I'm just kind of tired of it. I don't know, and I'm kind of disappointed because I really liked the first book in this little interconnected standalone series situation. So I had high hopes for this book, but so far I'm a little bit disappointed just because of the trope that's in this book. I literally just now realized I forgot to tell you what page I ended up getting to during my lunch break, and I ended up getting to page 172. So not a ton of reading done, but I was still pretty happy with the amount of reading that I got to do during my lunch break. Good morning. I am so excited today because I'm going back to the coffee shop that I went to last weekend. I'm pretty sure I talked to you guys about it, but I don't think I actually showed you the coffee shop. Maybe I'll be so brave today and pull out my camera and I'll show you. But I'm going there mostly to edit. I might read a little bit. Kind of just depends on how much editing I get done and like how much editing I have left, because it feels like a lot, but sometimes I sit down to edit and I'm like, oh, that took me like 2 minutes. So just depends on the editing, because that needs to be a priority today. But I'm pretty far into Yours Truly, and I'm convinced I can finish this book today. I'm on page 208, and I'm still very much on the fence about how I feel about this book. Last time we spoke and I actually like told you my opinions about this book, I was saying that I was feeling a little iffy, and I'm still feeling that way. But it's a really weird feeling because I keep going in between really liking them and really liking their romance, and then being like, oh, this is so overdone. Like I feel like I've seen this before already, and I'm kind of tired of it. Like I keep going back and forth between those 2 sides, and I feel like they're very different sides. Like I keep going between love it, hate it, you know? And it's very much a weird roller coaster. I don't know if a book has ever made me feel like this before. And I think part of the problem definitely is the fact that we have both of their point of views and I know what both of them are thinking. And I'm like, you guys just need to communicate. Like, and it also just makes no sense about what our main girl character is thinking. Like, she thinks, basically what I'm trying to say is that I'm very iffy on the book still. And I feel like so many of their thoughts, like if they just communicated with each other, this would be solved. Like, they would be together and everything would be fine. But I guess that's the point, because there would be no story if they just communicated. And yeah. Anyways, not that I really think that there's like miscommunication in this book. I just think that they both are assuming things about the other person and they're both wrong. And like, as the reader, since you are in both point of views, you know that they're both wrong about these things, but like there's nothing you can do about it. You know, you're just reading the book, like there's nothing you can do about it. And that has just been driving me a little bit crazy. So I'm still enjoying it. I feel like it makes it sound like I'm not liking it at all. I am still enjoying it, but so far I liked Part of Your World a million times better. And I had a lot of hopes for this one because I feel like I hear a lot of good things about this book. I'm hoping the latter half will kind of turn things around for me. Guys, I'm too shy for my own good. Like I said, I was gonna go to this coffee shop. I did go. We're gonna try the coffee together. I went, but I'm so shy. Like, there was only one table left and it was surrounded by a bunch of people. Like, I was like, surely a Wednesday in the middle of the day, there's not gonna be that many people there, right? Like, that was my thought. I was so wrong. It's packed in there. And I thought about sitting outside because like there's no one outside right now. But I was like, well, it might be wet because it rained last night. And two, I have a porch at home. I can just go home and sit there. My whole point of going to the coffee shop today was to get out of my comfort zone and go to these places alone. But you know what? Baby steps. I still went in there. I took a gander at their books. I did that alone, okay? I'm trying to not be hard on myself. It's baby steps, you know? So I am in fact gonna go straight home, but let's try my coffee. This one is a latte with white chocolate and blackberry, I believe. Sounds like an interesting combination, but let's try it. Last time I got a matcha and it was a raspberry matcha with vanilla cold foam. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was so good that I was like, I should just get that again. But then I was like, no. Let me try something new, okay? Oh my gosh. That is so good. It's the same day. I just changed my shirt because I stained the white one, of course, but I've never related to a character so hard in my life. Let me just read you like the tiniest little paragraph in this book. It says, I sighed. I have to go take a picture of the driveway. I mumbled, getting up. The driveway? She asked. He needs to know where to park. It's a thing. Literally me. If I'm going somewhere new, I will stress about parking like it's nobody's business. Or even if I'm going to someone's house that I've been to a million times, I always ask, hey, where should I park? Because I'm always like, I don't know where to park. Like, I can't make that decision on my own. There is something about parking that is so nerve-wracking. Hello, it is the next day. I just finished yours truly this morning. I knew I would because I got very close to finishing it last night in bed, but I of course fell asleep because I was so tired. But I have a couple thoughts about this book, okay? And I feel like I've shared a good amount of them already. And I unfortunately think a lot of the thoughts I have are a little bit negative. And maybe I should have just DNF'd this book, but it wasn't bad enough for me to actually want to DNF the book. But towards the end of the book, I was getting to the point where I was just so annoyed with the characters, because at the beginning of the book, I told you guys, I was not a fan of Jacob, and then he grew on me, and then towards the end of the book, I really liked him. But then it flip-flopped, because then I ended up really not liking Brianna. It was mostly because she kept making these assumptions about how Jacob was feeling and how he would react and things he would do and things like that. And that just drove me actually so crazy, because I was like, why don't you just talk to him about this? Like, this whole book could be about 100 pages shorter if she just talked to him. Like, if she just asked him how he was feeling, I feel like this book would be like this long instead of this long, you know what I mean? And that was driving me crazy towards the end of the book, because that's kind of obviously when things kind of peak a little bit, or I don't feel like peak is the right word, but I feel like you guys know what I mean. That's when the romance is full force. That's when like things are starting to get a little bit more intense. I think that's the word that I was looking for. So just her actions towards the end of the book were just driving me crazy, because even in the beginning of the book, I feel like if they just talked to each other, so many of their problems towards the end of the book would have been solved. And I just don't feel like a lot of this book was realistic, like particularly in the way that they spoke to each other towards the end. Like, they were saying a lot of like high, what is the word for, like, I am really struggling to find my words this morning. They were speaking like book characters, so it just felt very unrealistic, which really sucks, because I do really enjoy Abby Jimenez. There was nothing about the writing or the pace about this book that particularly bothered me. It was It's just the fact that I feel like so much of the book could have been solved if they just talked to each other in the beginning of this whole situation, but they didn't, and that's what was driving me crazy. I also said this earlier, so I definitely don't want to repeat myself, but the trope in this book, I just feel like it's overdone, at least for me, because I feel like I have picked up a lot of books that have this trope in it. All of that being said, makes it sound like I really didn't like this book, and I didn't not like this book, I just didn't love it. So I think I'm gonna give it a 3-star. I keep toggling between a 3 and a 3.5, so I don't know for sure which one it is. I feel like as of right now it's a 3, but at the same time there were also moments in this book where I was like, oh, I'm gonna miss this book when I put it down. That honestly leaves me very confused, but as of right now it is a 3-star. I will let you know if that changes. I also read 2 other books in this video. Started this video off with a reread. This was Cress, which is book 3 in the Lunar Chronicles. I think I said earlier in the video that I would have rated this a 4-star if I was reading it for the first time today, like as an adult, but I actually take that back because I found myself thinking about this book after I put it down, and I found myself really wanting to reach for the rest of the series. So I definitely think that this is a 5-star read, which it definitely was a 5-star for me when I read it originally in middle school. And then I also read Reasons to Stay Alive. I think that this is a 4-star self-help memoir type of book. I would definitely say it leans more on the memoir side of things than the self-help side of things, but that's just my opinion. Still really enjoyed this book as well. That was it for this video. We're actually really close to getting bingo. I think in the next video we will probably get bingo, and then maybe I can give myself a little treat or something for getting bingo on my board. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!